gentlemen, and welcome to another action-packed episode of Warring to Attitude. I am your host, Brent Piles. This is the 38th edition. I know I said last week was 38, but it was 37. But this one's 38. I can assure you this is number 38. I think I said I'm your host, Brent Piles. But of course, when I war to Attitude, I have with me, as always, he is from across the ocean and from the future. He is the barroom brawling, disco dancing, dynamite stretching, intercontinental playboy, folks. He might be over, but he's no more over than Declan Rice is with me and this man at GA Wrestling, Glenn Abbott. Glenn, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, and yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that one.
Wow, Glenn.
Man is a savior.
And that's twice he's done that in extra time. He did it against Manchester United, too.
And I hope David Breyer buys him very many beers.
Somebody should. I think there's probably going to be a lot of places he won't ever have to buy another beer, maybe.
Yeah, because when you're a goalkeeper and you cost your team 2 goals, and then somebody pops up at the end and scores the winner for your team, you're very, very, very grateful.
Especially with the way he played, yeah. Glenn, so that game was the most aggravating, annoying, disaster, wonderful, miracle, greatest sports game I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that sums it up perfectly.
Like,
welcome to being an Arsenal supporter.
Like, wow, I'm not full into this. I'm only into this thing for like a season and a half so far, but literally that was one of the most thrilling. Mm-hmm. So, and even thrilling's not even the right word, because for most of the game you were just annoyed.
Yeah, it was Bournemouth all over again.
Yep. Except for they pulled this one out.
Yeah. They did that one as well. That was a last-minute winner as well.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm thinking of the one that they lost, but that was the one that they drew. That they had a. Wasn't the one where they were like a 2-1 lead and then they ended up drawing or something?
Yeah, there's been a couple of those.
That's what I thought. So I'm getting. If you don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about the soccer contest, or the football match, as Glenn's countrymen would say, between Arsenal and is it Luton?
It was Luton Town, yes.
Oh my God. Yay! And Arsenal ended up winning 4-3, and literally Declan Rice won it on a header, and literally. If there was such thing as a buzzer beater in soccer, it was a buzzer beater. It was the final second.
Yeah, they didn't even kick off after the team just went to and celebrated because they knew there was no need to kick off because the referee just blew the whistle as soon as the ball first went in the net.
Yeah. I literally got up and ran in circles around in my living room 24 times. I literally did a few laps. My living room's not very big, but I did a few laps in the living room. I may have had to use my inhaler afterwards, but Lord, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was the old snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. And while it would have been a draw, it would have been a defeat, because you can't go out there and not get 3 points in that game.
Talking about being amazing, going back to wrestling for a minute.
Yes.
Did you watch NXT last night?
I did not.
Don't worry about most of it, because most of it is just telling the story of building up to Saturday.
Right.
Go and watch the 6-man tag match between Alpha Academy and Metaphor.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, sign me up for that.
It is amazing. It is amazing. And I won't spoil it. I won't tell you what went on. We can talk about it on Friday, because there's a couple of wow moments in that match.
So yeah, I mean, anything with Alpha Academy, sign me up for, and of course anything with Metaphor. So that sounds amazing, Glenn. I'll definitely check that out. We'll talk about it. I'm sure the mayor watched it. So,
and they're slowly getting away from this thing about women can't touch men and men can't touch women in these mixed tag matches. which is a good thing, really. You don't want all that out and out violence because it makes some people. I'm used to it over here,
Right.
but I know it makes some people's skin crawl, the idea of that. But just doing a few spots like they did last night, and some really good spots, is and I'm glad that WWE aren't going all out with this. You can't have a woman in the ring with a man at the same time.
I mean, if you got Lash Legend out there, I mean, she's just as tall. Lash Legend will whoop my fucking ass. She'll beat the shit out of me tomorrow.
Oh, she literally stood nose to nose with Otis.
See, that's fun. To me, that's fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, I mean, Otis pulls all the girls, so she should probably watch herself. Yeah,
he really, he's after her.
Otis is a ladies' man. That's all I know.
Yes.
That is all I know, pal. But Glenn, we'll talk more about that. We will make our picks for that respective show. I think it's called Deadline on this. And since it comes out on Saturday, I suppose I'll have to put it out on Saturday morning. So you're going to hear that on Saturday morning on the old YouTube. So check that out. But today, Glenn, we are here to talk about Raw's War from July the 28th, 1997.
If you've listened to it into this far, you would have heard me at the beginning putting in a disclaimer.
Oh yeah.
Ignore that disclaimer this week.
Might not even have to put it in.
No. Probably not. That's probably a better idea.
Yeah, we'll leave it out this week. We don't even have to let people know that good wrestling took place because it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
We are at the Pittsburgh Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This arena is commonly known by its nickname, the Igloo, for its unique look. It opened in September of 1961. What year were you born, Glenn?
1959. So I was 2 years old when this was built.
So there you go. The arena was mainly used for the NHL's Pittsburgh Penguins from 1967 until 2010. You're familiar with the Pittsburgh Penguins, Glenn?
I am. I've never ever been sure why they're called the Penguins because, as far as I know, there's not that much snow or cold weather in Pittsburgh. And penguins always live in the south.
I mean, it gets pretty fucking cold in Pennsylvania, but I don't know if it gets penguin cold.
It doesn't get any colder than it does here.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't get any colder than it does in Nebraska, that's for sure.
I don't know why they were the Penguins, to be honest.
But there's also no bears really tracking around the city of Chicago, you know.
I know that.
Or bulls or cubs or any of that. But anyway, so yeah, this arena has held many Raws and SmackDowns over the years. It even hosted SummerSlam 1995. Glenn, do you want to know what the main event of SummerSlam 1995 was? The Barn Burner.
Yes, please, because I can't remember.
It was Diesel defending the WWF Championship against the newly crowned King of the Ring, King Mabel.
Mabel. Yes, I do. I had blanked that from my memory.
Yeah, I can understand why. And so Unforgiven 2001, I was going to list the main event of every pay-per-view that's on here, but some of them are really good and they're not worth listing, so I threw that out after the first one. So Unforgiven 2002, No Way Out 2005, Armageddon 2007, Bragging Rights 2009, and the most memorable thing that happened in this arena, Glenn, was the 1998 King of the Ring when Mankind got thrown off the fucking cell. That took place at this very arena that this Raw would have happened at.
Excellent.
But Glenn, possibly not wrestling-wise, but the biggest thing that ever happened in this arena's entire illustrious history was that Taylor Swift had a concert there in October of 2009, Glenn, and that had to be the greatest thing that happened to the city of Pittsburgh since, I don't know, she probably went there this year, but ever since then, greatest thing that ever happened.
She must have been a baby back in 2009.
Yeah, I think she was like fucking 19 or 20 years old, something like that. But yeah, so the building was demolished in November of 2010, so it no longer, I think it's a parking lot now. But
it melted.
The igloo melted, yeah, absolutely. It's also funny to think they had SummerSlam at a place known as the Igloo. That's funny.
Yeah. And apparently, this show did an all-time record gate of 12,000 people.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, goddamn, pal. They didn't deserve it. They opened the show showing a video of everything that happened, in the flag match, and Vince and Bret kind of getting physical together, and then HBK getting attacked by Bret in his locker room, and of course this is the go home show. Next week we will be reviewing SummerSlam 1997, and Glenn, is there any other way this show could have started than how it did?
No, not really.
Because it's always Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation, of course.
Yeah. Unless it was Stone Cold, but
yeah. What are you doing? Get down. Don't look at me like I'm sorry. I'm having an argument with my dogs. Anyway, it's funny. The funniest thing about this is Bret gets into the ring and Vince tells JR, "JR, be my guest." I ain't getting in there.
Yeah,
I ain't getting in there.
Yeah, it's saying JR pulled seniority at that point.
Yeah, I don't want to get my fucking ass whooped like last week. And so, they kind of talked to Bret. JR talks about how Bret, could have been suspended or fined or even fired for what happened last week, but he says it's not going to happen, and that next week we're going to get a new commissioner, and then after that his situation will be reviewed. And then we got like a 10-minute promo from Bret Hart, and I gotta say, like when I'm thinking about this, watching it when I was a kid, I thought it was a lot better. I hated it a lot more when I was a kid. When you go back and watch it now, it's not as good as I once remembered it being.
That's very true. I think you could say that about all Bret Hart's promos, because everybody thinks how good he was, and they're actually analyzing his promos, actually find out how bad they are.
Yeah, I mean a little bit, but I made a little short clip of this 10-minute video, so some people can maybe decide for themselves on how they feel. He does get one good line in, so
I was going to say I hope it isn't just him saying the SummerSlam all the time. Otherwise, that will be 10 minutes worth.
Oh, he does say the SummerSlam, I think, twice. This is a minute 44, Glenn, and I'm pretty sure he says the SummerSlam twice. So get your beer ready, Rob, Dan, I'm looking at you. Take a drink every time he says the SummerSlam. Here we go.
I wonder what you'd like to say to these American fans here tonight in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
One thing I've learned is that Americans will do absolutely anything to screw ya. When I said that if I didn't win the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt in the SummerSlam against The Undertaker, that I would never, ever set foot in American soil again, I didn't mean it in a literal sense. I just meant it as a figure of speech. And this goes to show you that they'll do absolutely anything to paint you in a corner, to stack the deck against you. Even though everything's stacked against me, next week in the SummerSlam, whether you Americans like it or not, I will be a 5th-time World Wrestling Federation champion. I'm going to address something else. Shawn Michaels. After all the crap he said about Canadians last week, it's bad enough what he says about me. And it's bad enough what he says about my family and the Hart Foundation. But you better apologize to the Canadian fans for the trash that came out of your mouth. I said the United States of America was one big, giant toilet bowl. If you were gonna give the United States of America an enema, you'd stick the hose right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
So yeah, the last line was good.
Yeah, always pays if you're going to be the heel to diss the locals.
Yeah, I mean that's a hell of a way to go. Yeah, I mean that's really good. I wonder if he came up with that himself or somebody wrote that for him.
Probably somebody wrote that for him.
I feel like that's probably what happened. But yeah, I think he said the SummerSlam 2 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I should make a video of him just saying the SummerSlam. That'd be fun.
Yeah, within the 10 minutes, it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, it was more than twice. Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 times. He said the SummerSlam.
And you could see there, imagine that place is absolutely jam-packed solid. You bought a ticket, you're stuck right up in the nosebleeds, and some idiot's got a sign right in front of you. You'd be well pissed off, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't be very happy, no. I put that shit down for like 2 seconds, man. Well, yeah, nobody can even see it up here. Just put it down.
Yeah, that's it.
What it didn't show there was he also challenged the Patriot to a match in the main event. So that's we'll hear from the Patriot will let us know later if he's going to accept that challenge or not. Brent then leaves the ring and give us a little rundown of what's going to happen tonight. We're going to get the Godwins facing Dude Love and Austin for the tag team championships. File that under things I would never thought have ever happened, but it did. Shawn Michaels will also be here tonight. Crush will take on his former nation leader, Farouk. And they let us know, Glenn, Ahmed Johnson is back this week. So, I mean, the nation is at full force, Glenn. Full force nation.
Definitely.
Glenn's excited. I know you are. And also, Glenn, if you weren't excited yet, if you're not excited yet, Glenn, tonight is the night, Glenn, we get the debut of the Truth Commission. So, holy cow, I know you've been waiting for that since the show started.
Yeah, that's exciting. But
the only reason we started this show is because Glenn was like, I love the Truth Commission. I was like, well, we got to do the show.
Bit like this first match that's coming up.
Yeah. I also thought it was funny that Jerry the King Lawler teased, stick around and maybe Bret Hart will beat up Vince McMahon tonight.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. And then they showed a little video. They do this throughout the night. I do have a video of the fans talking about it, but not this one. I have the funnier one that I thought was a part of it.
Yeah.
We see a video of fans talking about like who's going to win at SummerSlam, and one fan says, Undertaker could beat Bret on his worst day, but Bret couldn't beat the Undertaker on his best day. And then there was just a bunch of two guys yelling nonsense.
Yeah.
All right, Glenn. So tell me about the first match that we got happening here on Monday Night Raw.
Right, it's going to be this classic tag team match of the Legion of Doom versus Los Boricuas. Los Boricuas at this point is Savio and Miguel.
Okay, good, Glenn. I'm glad you got the name because I wrote Savio and the hairy one in my notes.
Yeah. Miguel is the hairy one.
Yes. Latin George Steele, that man.
What can you say about it? It happened.
It did happen. You can say every match on this show, it just happened. That's all I can say about any match on the show, to be honest with you.
It's the format at this time. If you've got a faction involved, the match is going to end in a DQ, and everybody's going to flood the ring. And of course, you get the Godwins involved as well.
Yep.
And poor old Hulk, done with a bloody slot bucket again. It breaks my heart what they're doing. One of the best tag teams in the world ever.
Certainly one of the most over tag teams of all time. And if you look back at both of their runs in WWE, I wouldn't say that they went well. I mean, one, they stuck him with a fucking dummy named Rocco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why would these two giant guys who looks like they could rip my arms off, beat me with them, then eat my head? Why would you give them a fucking doll? Like, what are we doing? And
Exactly.
now they're fighting hog farmers, and you're right. It's not good. It is not good.
It's not good.
It isn't. But to be fair, like the match wasn't bad. It was just 2 minutes, and then everybody got in. Had they let these guys go 8 minutes, it could have been a good tag team match because it had some good action.
We don't know much about Miguel, but we know Savio can go, and we know the Legion of Doom do what Legion of Doom do.
Right.
So,
I mean, and even the Los Boricuas guys got some offense in. The LOD sold for them. It was just as soon as they started to make their little bit of comeback, everybody got in the ring, and that was the end of it. So I think it just kind of goes to show you where tag team wrestling was at in that era, and why it wasn't taken seriously for many years. You know what I mean? So yeah, that whole thing was just to build the match between LOD and the Hog Farmers.
Yeah.
Did DOA make their way down there yet? They didn't in this segment, did they? Was later on?
No, it was later on.
That's what I thought. Okay. We then see Hunter and China. They, recap the long history between Hunter and Mankind, from a battle on Shotgun Saturday Night to Mankind. Oh, I guess a battle on Shotgun Saturday Night where China murdered Mankind's nuts over and over again. I think she low blowed him like 6 times.
Yeah.
And then at King of the Ring, where Hunter beat Mankind to be King of the Ring, and then at Calgary Stampede, where they brawled throughout the arena and even outside. And now at SummerSlam, and I don't know, have they mentioned this yet, that they were going to have a cage match at SummerSlam? Or was this the first time they told us?
It's the first time they mentioned it. There's something on a cage.
A week before.
Yeah.
A cage match. But it makes sense. These guys have a blood feud. They're rightfully should have a cage match. And then we heard a little promo from Hunter, and I'm going to put it up on this screen here, because I thought this...
I've got a question about this promo, but we'll do it. I'll ask you afterwards.
Perfect.
China, what China's done. Mankind, are you going to tell me you're complaining about getting beat up by a woman? Is that what you're saying to me? And anytime she's gotten involved, it's been after the fact, Mankind. I got the job done. She just left the calling card. You want to put me in a cage with you? You want to lock me up like some animal? Well, you're going to get to see how big of an animal I can be too. And Vader, as far as you go, you keep asking what time it is. Looks like it's Jenny Craig time to me, pal. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right, fire away, Glenn. What's the question?
Well, who's Jenny Craig? Why is it Jenny Craig?
Oh, you don't know?
No.
You don't know who Jenny Craig is?
No.
Okay, so that's like a very common program that people get into to lose weight.
Ah, right. Oh.
Yeah. That would have been a major burn in the 90s here in the United States to say Jenny Craig. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a load of those as well. Still have.
What would one of them be called by chance?
Oh God, I can't even think, to be honest, without looking them up.
Kelly Ann's or some shit.
I'll say like that. Yeah, there's always women involved.
Skinny
women telling people how they can lose weight. Seems to be a common thing with those.
Yeah, Jenny Craig, there's like Weight Watchers, but Jenny Craig's the only one I can remember that really had a name. So yeah, he was insulting Vader's weight.
Yeah.
That's why it was quite a burn, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway, we get, I thought it was funny that we're going to get a rare heel versus heel match, but Glenn, did we get that?
No, because a cameraman attacks Hunter before Vader could even get in the ring, who is a little bit on the stout side, shall we say.
Yes.
I was wearing a leather mask. Now, I wonder who that could have been.
I was wondering myself, but then we find out that it's Mankind, and he is currently whooping Hunter Hearst ass, and China can't see him because China's like standing at the ramp, like at the entranceway, like challenging Vader to a fight, which is wow. Not a lot of people are challenging Vader to fight, so she was doing it. And then finally she realizes that it is Mankind beating the shit out of Hunter. She gets in there, and when I tell you she fucking flattened him, it was like a linebacker hitting a fucking wide receiver. She leveled him.
It was. Yeah.
I'm not sure China had yet understood the concept of a work yet. I don't think she quite had picked it up.
Nobody can say anything.
Right. I mean,
it is a thing about you crying about being beaten up by a girl. Vader's certainly not going to complain if she's a bit stiff, and neither is Mick.
Yeah, I mean, Mick's definitely not going to complain about anybody being stiff, so he wants you to hit him.
Yeah,
so they're both beating on Mankind, but then Mankind throws Hunter over or he throws Hunter into the ropes, and it knocks. Oh, China got up on the top rope for some reason, which I thought was strange. And then Mankind threw Hunter into the ropes, which of course made her fall off the ropes. So the match never happens, and then Mankind and Humsley start brawling through the crowd,
as they do.
Yeah,
when they're setting up a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and while like I listened to UTT and they talk, Rob and Dan kind of talk about how like you can judge things as a match, and then you can judge it as a spectacle. Yeah. And if you judge that as a match, it's not a match, so it's nothing. But if you judge it as a spectacle, it was a hell of a spectacle.
That sums up this Raw, really. It wasn't a wrestling show. It was a spectacle leading up to what should be a good wrestling show.
Yeah, I mean, I should probably put that in the description of the show because it's exactly what we looked at here. Yeah, definitely. Up next, we try to call somebody, Glenn, to see if they have won and see if they've won tickets to SummerSlam to be a part of the SummerSlam $1 Million Challenge. No, they tell us that that's coming up next. I'm sorry, they tell us. It was funny because they told us that 3 things were coming up next, and so I wasn't sure what was actually coming up next.
And what we actually got was Brackus.
Yeah. So they tell us that the $1 Million Challenge thing is going to happen next, but then they tell us that we're going to hear from the Truth Commission, or we're going to see the debut of the Truth Commission, and then we see a promo from someone called the Commandant.
Yeah.
And he says we're going to see the most elite fighting force in the entire world, Glenn, the South African Truth Commission, and I trust you that the truth will hurt. So we then come back from a break, and yes, we do hear more from Brackus. I unfortunately couldn't find this promo from Brackus, but it was a lot like last week's promo.
I was going to say, all you need to say is he's very German and very angry. And
I think last week he called out the Hart Foundation. This week it was the Nation of Domination.
Yeah. But basically, that's his promos. Muscly, German, and angry. Next
up, we do get the debut of the Truth Commission, and they were taking on the ragtag group, if you will.
Right. You're building these monsters up. So who do you have as a 3-man tag team against them? Flash Funk, Jesse James, and Bob Holly.
I mean, it was literally like they were like, all right, we need somebody to face the Truth Commission. They walked around the building. They went to catering, and they went,
who's not working
Bob, Flash, and see, I forgot who it was. And Jesse James. Spend your day working hard on the go, getting your ass whooped by some South Africans. Let's go. And that's what they threw together here. It was so weird.
And the good thing about this is that he took such a beating here, Jesse James, that in a couple of weeks' time, he changes his persona.
Which, good Lord, pal, he needed it. So he needed it. Apparently, he needed that ass whipping, Glenn.
So then we're on the road to getting DX, which is a good thing.
Definitely. So also they had Monsoon up there for a minute with the commentary team, and he does inform us that next week we will announce who the new WWF commissioner is. Glenn, I want you to guess who it is, but I don't want you to give me any actual people that you think it's going to be. I want you to give me ironic answers. Who could ironically be the 1997 commissioner?
I really don't know.
I think they're going to get Johnny Cochran. He makes the most sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who else to keep things under control? He got OJ off on murder.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Sounds like Vince's kind of guy. I'm just saying. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the Truth Commission. Glenn, you know anything about the Truth Commission?
I know they're from South Africa.
Well, yes. I don't know if any of them are actually from South Africa.
And it's Paul Buchanan,
which is Recon,
Kurgan, and Johnny Rambo,
also known as Sniper.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They are now being called Recon, Sniper, and Interrogator.
So the Interrogator would be like, I guess he's asking questions. I don't know, or is that like a person who like tortures you at the same time?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Basically, yeah.
So I'm familiar with Kurgan. I'm familiar with Bull Buchanan. I was not familiar with Sniper, so I looked him up, Glenn. And this guy had been wrestling since 1984 at this point. So he had been wrestling for as long as I had been alive in 1997. He worked in Europe, Glenn. It said under the name Rocky Montana. I wish I was making that up, but I'm not.
Oh, lovely. Oh. Never heard of him.
I wish I made that up, but I'm not. His name was Rocky Montana. That sounds like a bad action hero, you know what I mean? This summer, starring Rocky Montana.
I'll have to ask some of the lads in the British Wrestling Archive if they ever wrestled against Rocky Montana.
Yeah, so the only other run he had was an Australian promotion called Catch Wrestling Association. where he was actually the 4-time world champion. He actually had a feud with a guy named Bull Power. Do you know who Bull Power was, Glenn?
No.
That's Vader. Vader.
Oh, right. Oh,
the group actually debuted in the USWA initially in 1996, but it was just Recon and Kurgan, and they actually became USWA Tag Team Champions in their debut match and won the titles 3 times while they were there. But yeah, there you go. There's some information on the Truth Commission. What do you think about this ridiculous 6-man tag team match?
It was what it was. Again, there was bits of decent stuff. There was a lovely stiff knee from Recon on Jesse James that I did make a note of.
Yeah, the crowd initially was into it. They were big USA chants, but like as the match got going, they really weren't into it at all.
Oh no, they realized how bad it was.
Yeah, everybody just, and it's not to say that it was bad. It was just a squash match. And I think they did a good job as far as making them look like a dominant force. You just didn't get that vibe from the crowd because nobody cared.
Well, it didn't help that you had a so-called sniper standing on the apron edge, blown up just by standing there.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't look well.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it was what it was. I think they did. I thought they looked impressive, but it's gonna be hard for them to get over as heels because they're trying to do like an anti-American thing, and you've already got that with your hottest heel thing in the company right now, the Hart Foundation. So that's already not gonna work. You know.
Yeah, that's it. No, you don't need to introduce more.
Yeah. So it's just a bad. And we already got like 12 factions. It's like AEW.
Yeah.
Or Japan. Japan has had a lot of shit. Well, I mean, I guess WWE nowadays has a lot of factions too, if you look around.
Apparently, the Wrestling Observer at the time commented on this match that they looked even worse when they were wrestling in Memphis.
Oh, well then. Well, I would hope so. Hopefully they got a little better in a year on this thing. So then we do, Glenn, make a phone call to it. Well, they try to call somebody and it doesn't work the first time. And why you wouldn't edit that out before you put it on the wherever the network or Peacock that you got, I don't know, so you don't look like fucking idiots. And then they finally talked to a person named Ryan. Ryan sounds 12 years old. So this lucky kid gets to go to SummerSlam 1997, the bastard. I'm talking as my 14-year-old self. I hate him because he got to go and I didn't.
Yeah. But don't you think he was suspiciously underwhelmed with it all?
He didn't sound overly excited.
If you, as a 12-year-old, suddenly had Vince McMahon on the phone to you, telling you that you were going to SummerSlam, you'd be wetting yourself, wouldn't you?
Glenn, I would have been like when Declan Rice scores a goal in the 96th minute when we're tied 3-3. I would have been running in circles in my living room.
It would be. Oh, thanks.
Yeah. That kid was clearly a spoiled little brat. He'd already got tickets to SummerSlam. He didn't even need them.
Yeah. Can I bring more people? No, just like one person.
He did ask you if he could bring more people. And then Jerry the King Lawler made it seem like he could bring more people, and then he thanked him, but I'm sure he was very upset when they informed him that no, you could only bring one person. So yeah, we then hear more about Bret Hart challenging the Patriot to a match tonight, and then we go to a break, and we come back, and we talk to the Patriot about if he'll face Bret Hart tonight. He says he would never back down from a challenge to defend his country. He said he doesn't like Bret Hart, and he said he's ready to face Bret Hart whenever Bret Hart's ready. So we then hear the motorcycles, Glenn, and the DOA are here. Vince is really putting over the bikes they were riding. Apparently, they're Titan motorcycles.
Apparently so.
He only said it 12 times.
Yeah. And apparently, although Harleys are good, these are better.
Apparently, that's what he said. Harleys are great, but these are much better. I've never heard of Titan. Never heard of that.
That may be because think of the name.
Yeah, I already did.
I think of the company that Vince owns.
Yeah, it's Titan Sports. Yeah.
Exactly. And they're Titan bikes.
Probably all just bullshit, huh?
They're probably part of the whole sort of Titan.
Under the same umbrella.
Yeah, Titan invested in a motorbike company as well.
Okay, maybe I should have looked this up. I just figured it was all bullshit. Man.
Yeah, it could well be. I might be making too much into it, but that's what I thought when he was hyping them up so much. I'm thinking, do they have a vested interest in this selling these bikes?
You're probably right because he did say it a lot. Yeah. So then Koresh is going to take on Farouk. So the entire nation is back together as Ahmed Johnson is back with the crew. I believe he was fighting with DOA when he hurt his knee initially. So every guy gets in the ring. We get a big stare down. And to my fucking surprise, Glenn, they actually cleared the ring and started the match. I thought no fucking way.
I'll tell you what, my note on this when they first came out, though, is he's not only had knee surgery, but it looks like he's had a lube job because he was really oily.
If Andre the Giant would have been there, he would have been pissed. No baby oil!
Exactly. Ahmed looked very shiny.
He was glistening. Yeah, he was absolutely glistening. So, I mean, for what it was, the match started good. They were brawling. There was some hard-hitting stuff, but about 2 minutes in, everybody gets in the ring and they start brawling.
Yep, of course.
Which, Glenn, I thought it was going to happen before the bell even rang, so at least they got 3 minutes in. So
yeah, it was, again, they could have done all of that 2 minutes sooner and we would have all been happier.
Probably, yeah.
They changed the personnel. The modus operandum of the Nation of Domination hasn't changed.
You're right.
We won't bother having a match. We'll either get disqualified or we'll just beat people up before the match starts.
Yep. And it's still going, Glenn. The Los Boricuas, of course, make their way out to the ring too. They pull Crush out of the ring. They hit a power bomb on the ramp on him. I'm just hoping that Ahmed Johnson can make it out of this okay as I'm watching. I'm like, please, Ahmed, don't hurt yourself. Sprain an ankle in there, break a toe or something. Yeah, so it's just a big fucking brawl. Brouhaha is basically what it is. More building to the DOA Los Boricuas match that's going to take place at SummerSlam. I know Glenn, all the matches at SummerSlam, Glenn said, Owen Hart and Steve Austin, forget about it. British Bulldog versus Ken Shamrock, no way. Undertaker, Bret Hart, nope. Give me Los Boricuas versus DOA, right, Glenn?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Highlight of the show, that's going to be.
That's good. Should have been the main event.
Speaking about Steve Austin and Dude Love, they're on next.
They are.
Against the Hog Farmers.
They are taking on the Hog Farmers for the WWF Tag Team Championships, no less.
Yeah.
They've got Owen and Bulldog out on commentary, so, this should probably end well, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And why is it a title match on the go-home show before your pay-per-view?
Well, you can't have Dude Love. Well, I suppose you could have Dude Love because he's not Mankind, but you can't have Steve Austin in a tag team match because he's already facing Owen Hart.
Yeah, they could have made. I can't understand why they make them champions, and it's just the whole thing. It's still the same today with the bloody tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much now. We're slowly getting to a stage now, especially with the men, where the tag teams are actually meaning something again.
Right.
But it just shows the disregard for it. The tag team title. Oh, this is a throwaway match on a Raw before the pay-per-view.
I get what you're saying.
Why is Steve Austin and Dude Love the tag champions? That's basically what I'm saying. Why couldn't they have put them on a bloody proper tag team and had a proper tag team match at SummerSlam?
Yeah. This is kind of the era where the tag team championships kind of become an afterthought. And so they will start to pick up some steam, I will say, like when the Dudley Boys and the Hardys and Edge and Christian are there. Okay. But there's a time where it's just not very good, in the tag team division in WWE, WWF. So yeah, Dude Love and the Hog Farmers taking and Dude Love taking and Austin taking on the Hog Farmers. Easy for me to say. Of course, Bulldog challenges Shamrock to an arm wrestling match after this match. So The best part of the match, Drew Love got a hot tag to Austin. Austin gets in, and I mean, when I say hot tag, I mean red hot, because Austin came in there and just started leveling fucking anybody in fucking overalls.
I love it with bloody Bulldog in that wonderful northern English accent of his, called Dude Love, Dude Loser.
Yeah, that was good too. I put that in my notes as well. Yeah, really good stuff on commentary from Davey. And I don't remember him like being so like have the dry humor that he has, but I've been watching it as an adult. It's just so funny.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So yeah, and then Austin hits a stunner on Phineas, but then Henry knocks him out of the ring, and then while he's outside of the ring, of course, Owen Hart gets up and he hits Austin with a championship belt. And I don't know how, but like it seemed like Austin was out of the ring for like 4 seconds, and they were like, "Oh, it's a count out." I'm like, "How?"
Yeah, there was other the commentary. This just shows how much I was interested in the match. I'm making notes on what they were talking about. Where Owen says, "If we were in Canada, you wouldn't hear an ovation for Austin like this." And Jay goes, "We know we were there just last week."
Right, you don't have to remind us, dumbass. Yeah, so yeah, they all start brawling, and eventually the Godwins get involved too, and then LOD makes their way down. I like as soon as the Godwins saw LOD coming, they were like, "See ya."
Yeah.
They're like, "We are out of here." Did you hear the Hogs calling? We gotta go, they said.
Yeah.
And then the best part of the whole bit is Austin jumps up on the announce table, snatches Vince's headset, and then starts talking trash about Owen Hart, which I thought was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. The king said, "No, Vince's headset don't work anymore."
They tell us that tonight we're still going to hear from Shawn Michaels, Glenn. Hold on to your seat for that. And we're going to make another call about SummerSlam, Glenn. Who's going to win the SummerSlam tickets? Hang on to your hat. They tell us next.
It don't work first time. Try again.
We'll try again. A wise woman once said, "If at first you don't succeed, pick yourself up and try again."
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get somebody that sounds a bit more enthusiastic about it.
Somebody who likes wrestling.
Yeah.
So we get a light heavyweight match, but before the match starts, we get Ken Shamrock's music, and he makes his way down to the ring. He's holding a table, so I'm assuming he's accepted this arm wrestling challenge from Davey Boy Smith. So then we get a light heavyweight match, Glenn, and it's ironic because you just saw this man get chokeslammed through a table by the wall on WCW Thunderous Crowbar. It's Dangerous Devon Storm.
Exactly.
He's taking on Ace Darling.
Yeah. His tag partner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They were called the Extremists or something.
Well, that would be you'd be something else in this country now if you were the Extremists.
Yeah. Poor old Vince. He's trying hard to compete with the X Division. He keeps on frightening off the Japanese guys, the ones that could actually work. And they're bringing in people like these two.
And Glenn, this match lasted all of 48 seconds.
Yep.
They had time to do nothing. It was a waste.
Yeah. It makes you wonder why the light heavyweights never got over in WWF, doesn't it?
It makes me wonder. It makes me know why I can't name you 5 light heavyweight champions. I couldn't do it. Sorry.
Because basically, I don't know. I haven't got it to bring up at the moment, but you could guarantee that somewhere on the WCW show that was running against this at this time, they would probably had a 10-minute X Division match on there with 2 guys bouncing around like good ones.
They probably had Rey Mysterio open the fucking show against Dean Malenko.
Yeah.
Which compared to this is like fucking watching. I don't know. I don't want to try to compare it to anything because I don't want to piss anybody off. So. But yeah, so then we make another call, Glenn, and this time, and not only does it not work once, but it doesn't work twice.
This is even worse, this one. All they get in is the error code. You think they had a wrong number for somebody.
Yeah, and then so they cut to Sunny, fanning herself with the money, and then how awkward was it when Vince is like, Sunny, she's hot, and so is SummerSlam.
Yeah. But it was so. Ignore the fact that we're cocking up here. Look at Sunny.
Yeah, you know what to do.
Yeah.
So finally, they do talk to a man named Patrick. Patrick does sound a lot more enthusiastic about this, though.
He did, yes.
Patrick was hyped.
Yeah.
Very hyped about the fucking the arm wrestling match coming up, Glenn. He wanted us to know, just as much as Bret Hart wanted us to know it was the SummerSlam that Ken Shamrock was going to win this arm wrestling match. He felt really strong about it, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Patrick loves arm wrestling. He loves it. So now it's arm wrestling time between the British Bulldog and Ken Shamrock. And Glenn, you were friends with Davey. You hung out with him a few times. You ever see him arm wrestle anybody?
No.
You never saw anybody dumb enough to challenge him to an arm wrestling match?
No. And I'm not surprised the outcome of this.
Of course not.
Because that is the Davey I know. Somebody challenged him to our wrestler match. It'd go into the position and then punch him in the face.
Well then, never mind.
So yeah, the chair coming into play was not a surprise to me whatsoever.
And like arm wrestling and pro wrestling is like a contract signing or a wedding. It ain't going to end well.
No, that's it.
It just isn't. And honestly, I wasn't surprised that there wasn't like more shenanigans, more like somebody trying to pull out of doing it, or like he's wearing too much oil or some shit like that. But they really went right into the arm wrestling, and just as it looked like Ken Shamrock was about to win, Davey fucking levels him with a headbutt, and then totally destroys Ken Shamrock with several chair shots.
Yeah, and then empties dog food all over him.
Yeah,
just to be on the safe side.
Just for extra oomph. Yeah, rubs a big can of dog food all over Ken Shamrock. So, I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a good segment. It was it sets more up to their battle at SummerSlam. So I thought it was good. Then Glenn Goldust makes his way out to the ring, and they've got.
Excuse me while I take my headphones.
No, Glenn, don't you do it. I got a whole thing set up. You stay right there. They come out. They got a mannequin. And Goldust gets on the mic and he tells Brian Pillman that that's what he's going to be wearing on Raw next week after he kicks his butt on SummerSlam. Yeah. Marlena then gets on the mic and she asks the people if they want to see Pillman in a dress. And of course the people do. And then Glenn, you thought it was over. You thought he was gone. But he's not. It's Rockabilly!
Rockabilly.
Woo! It's Rockabilly! I know you thought you were never going to see him again, but he's here. And I know you love it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all right. Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry, I had to. So there we go. That might be the last time we see him, but that's why I had to do it.
Oh, for that.
I forgot to mention earlier in the show. Heavyweight champion, current heavyweight champion in 1997, Michael Moore. Do you remember? You ever heard of Michael Moore?
I have seen a few of his matches. Yes.
He knocked out George Foreman, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
George Foreman was like 50, but
yeah. It was that one of his. It is pre-comeback retirement matches.
Yeah, I think in between rounds, George had a couple of donuts too. Before he still went like 12 rounds though, so I'm not gonna. George Foreman would beat me up right now, and he's dead. So yeah, he's in the front row. I'll tell you that because it's gonna play into the match. This is one of those things then where I call it a match, but it wasn't really a match. Like every match on this show. So Goldust eventually sends Rockabilly to the outside, and Rockabilly gets into Michael Moore's face, which is never a good idea.
You've got a world boxing champion there, so as a wrestler, you don't concentrate on your opponent. You go over and slap him, and of course, that goes really well.
Yeah, it worked out nicely. Billy gets socked right in the face for his efforts. Of course, then Pillman hits the ring as this is going on, and he starts beating up Goldust. He shoves the dress down his throat. He rips it apart. Marlena is a down-ass chick because she jumped right on that motherfucker's back and she was choking him out.
She rode him and choked him out there like a good one, didn't she?
She did. She had a judo background or some shit. I don't know. She just said, fuck, man.
Especially in that ball gown like she wears.
He said, I thought, China, you ain't nothing, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So, yeah, another DQ. That dress is ruined, by the way. They're going to have to pick out a different one. You're not going to wear that one. Glenn, this has to set a record for most DQ or count out finishes in the history of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
It's been like every match.
It has.
That's
That's what I said to you. I said to you that no point calling this a wrestling show. This is a let's build the stories up to SummerSlam show.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So then we come back from a break and they have a little video package talking about the Undertaker Bret Hart match. And let's have a look at a little edited version.
Yep.
Big giant question mark that hovers over my head when I think of the Undertaker, because he does some pretty impressive stuff and he's very coordinated, very agile for a big guy. He's not a guy that you can just out. He's very quick. He's very strong. Then you're going to look at the Undertaker and you look at how bad does he want it? Maybe he doesn't want it that bad. Wrong. The guy wants it so bad that you are in for a long fight, long night, any night. Any night, whether it's a small city, little town, big city, big town, 80,000 people, 20,000, it doesn't matter. This guy comes psyched up, focused all the time.
Although his psyche was severely tested by the issues surrounding Kane and the antics of Paul Bearer, the Undertaker's focus has remained unrelenting.
Even when there are rifts in his life, he still handles them. To me, he's probably the most centered and grounded guy we have.
That is a sentiment painfully understood by all would-be challengers to the title, and one the Phenom personally prides himself on. What has fueled The Undertaker has seemingly inspired Bret Hart, as the two set to square off in the biggest showdown of the year.
Very nice video package, I thought.
Yeah. It does sort of shine through. When you even listen to the likes of Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels talking about Undertaker, how respected Mark Calloway is with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, there was even stuff that I cut out of there that Shawn Michaels said he said something like, I get jealous over a lot of things, but I get envious of things that people have that I don't have. And he said that he has things that I don't have. And for Shawn Michaels to say that about somebody is pretty impressive, because
it is.
Like, you can say whatever you want about Shawn Michaels as a person, in the 90s, but you couldn't say that he wasn't how good he was of a wrestler. And for him to say that the Undertaker could do things that even he couldn't do, I think that says a lot. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And also, Shawn Michaels was a pretty arrogant guy back then. For him to say that, you would even see like the respect that he has even with Shawn Michaels. So speaking of Shawn Michaels, Glenn, that's a good segue here. We hear from Shawn Michaels next, and he's the most electric, the most flamboyant. It's Shawn Michaels. I always have to get that in. Hulk Hogan, he always loved Hulk Hogan, but he loved Shawn Michaels more.
Yeah.
So Vince asked Shawn if he's going to apologize for what he said about Canada last week, as Bret Hart said that he should. And Shawn says that him and Bret should both know that Shawn Michaels would never apologize for something that he said. He also talks about how nobody likes him in the back, so he's not looking to win, but it's okay because he's not looking to win any popularity contests. He says in the main event between Bret Hart and the Patriot, he's going to join Vince on commentary. So he heads on over and joins JR and the King. And then they show us Bret Hart, who's just tossing around stuff in the back. He's very angry. And we go to a break and we come back and we hear from more fans, Glenn, about who they think is going to win. And I made this video of these fans. So let's have a look at that.
Oh, yeah. Let's have a look at this.
Just trying to get publicity for his country. He should just go back to Canada with his crybaby self. we all know that the Salvation Army could go up there and whip Canada's ass.
Hey, Bret Hart, man, this is America, man. Love it or leave it, baby.
Bret Hart will never, ever be able to tell anybody here in Pittsburgh that the Canadian flag rules over the WWF, because I tell you one thing about Pittsburgh, if Canada is so great, then why is Mario Lemieux live in Pittsburgh?
Glenn, you familiar with Mario Lemieux?
No, but
So he was a great hockey player for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think they won a couple of 2 or 3 Stanley Cups with him. He was a very good hockey player.
I assume that he was a hockey player.
Yeah, but he is Canadian, and I bet you anything he likes Canada better than Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you live in Pittsburgh, but you know it's not that great. I live in Nebraska. I know it's not that great. I'll really admit it. Anyway, so then we go to the main event. It is the Patriot versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret goes right down. He gets right over and talking to Shawn and has words with Vince and Shawn.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is great. Especially when you get the thing between JR and Shawn. The show goes, how do you know that the Patriot played football?
Oh.
He says, because his name's Del Wilkes. You say, well, why does he wear a mask then if you know his real name?
It was like
Wikipedia. Why is he wearing a mask?
Like, I know that that Shawn's kind of like being a dick.
Yeah.
But it was really funny because those are all valid questions. All those questions are valid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Vince wanted him to have a name because he didn't like the idea of him having a mask, and so he wanted him to have a name. And so they made him have the Patriot Del Wilkes so that people could identify with him as a name. I really think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like something Vince would. He's got to have a name, pal. You know? But yeah, so also Bret wants everybody to shut up and play the Canadian national anthem. And to my surprise, they play the whole thing.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. Shawn Michaels is fake crying while it's going on. Then the Patriot wants them to play the national anthem of for America, but Bret Hart attacks him before it can even be finished. So, but the funniest thing was Bret Hart is whipping the shit out of the Patriot, right? And the people aren't booing or they're chanting USA, USA. He's just getting his ass whooped by Bret Hart. I don't know why, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I know.
But I guess they did it for Hacksaw Jim Duggan, so that makes sense. What do you think about this? The only thing that could be considered a match on this whole show was this one, and it wasn't even really a match.
No, but it was all right. And having Shawn Michaels on commentary made it really. Especially the back to and throwing with JR. JR asked him how he's qualified to be a referee. And he says, well, you count 1, 2, 3 for a pin. How hard could it be?
Yeah. Gave me that all right. And the most exciting thing that happened in this match was Bret Hart putting the Patriot in the figure 4 on the ring post, and that happened during the commercial break. So
yeah.
So we got a ref bump. Bret tries to cover the Patriot, but he can't because the ref's down. Then Shawn Michaels, then he goes for another pin, but then Shawn Michaels gets into the ring. He pulls Bret off. Bret's kind of like looking and talking to Shawn. And the Patriot gets a roll up from behind for the 3 count. And so the Patriot in his second match just beat Bret Hart in the main event. So that's
something. We were aiming for the tights as well. He'll move. But that's okay because he's beating up the foreign.
That's
Evil
right.
Foreigner.
That's how it doesn't matter, Glenn, by any means necessary, as the nation and our nation says.
But it's lovely that Bret the whole time is going on about how he's screwed, and he even gets screwed in just a cheap throwaway match like this against a Patriot.
A Patriot, it did happen. So yeah, Bret, is looking mad and angry. It looks like he's going to go after Michaels, but the referee stop him. And then the Undertaker's music starts. Undertaker comes out. He's just on the ramp, and that is how the show goes off the air. And so that was the last Raw before pay-per-view. And Glenn, as far as go-home shows before Raws, that's pretty on par because it wasn't a great wrestling show, but at least told some stories.
Exactly. That was exactly what it was. It was never meant to be a wrestling show, this one. Even the stuff that was done in ring was all done to further stories.
Yeah.
You weren't after Meltzer Classics on this.
Right, exactly. So with that light, I'm going to give it 1 thumb up.
Yep, and me.
But make sure you join us next week because we will review SummerSlam 1997.
Yep, to be fair, it's done its job. It's got me excited for SummerSlam.
I cannot disagree. Every one of these Raws has really built the stories of all the matches really well. So
yeah.
And even matches that just got thrown together last minute had already had such a good story built into it. Like the cage match between Mankind, while it just got told us on this show, it just already has a long story, so it makes sense. So we'll talk about that match. We'll talk about Ken Shamrock versus the British Bulldog. Will Pryor and Billman have to wear a dress. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Owen Hart, which some pretty iconic shit happens in that match, doesn't it? And we'll even talk about the main event of The Undertaker versus Bret the Hitman Hart, which is that's a classic match right there. So should be a fun rewatch.
It should be.
All right, Glenn, who do you need to plug before we get out of here?
The guys at UTT Wrestling, I'm booking the territory, doing the first and last of wrestling. They've also got the side project on unstacking the Dadatory. That's it. Unstacking the Dadatory. Building up to Wembley 1981 even. Big Daddy fought Giant Haystacks with it was the most watched wrestling show ever, apparently. 18 million viewers.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. DDT Wrestling with DC Air Doc. Bang Bang. Andy not only back with his partner Steve doing their weekly shows, but he's also doing his Christmas specials at the moment, as well as Christmas crackers, as he calls them. I appear on one of them in the near future, so keep your ears open for that. And of course,
the Doctor Who podcast with Danny Inside.
Yep. Looking forward to that because not only are they reviewing old Who's, but we're in the middle of 3 new Who's on at the moment on Saturday. So I'm sure eventually they'll get round to reviewing them. Obviously, they record weeks in advance, so we won't get there yet, but I'm sure at some point they'll put out a review show of the 60th anniversary shows for Doctor Who.
Oh, boy. Whoo, whoo. You know, it's been so hard every time you say Doctor Who for me not to go, whoo, whoo. So be thankful that this was the first time I did it.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out SportsWire Radio, as always. Check out the website. It's sportswireradio.org. There's a button on there that you click that says listen now, and you go listen to all the great shows that are on SportsWire Radio. And make sure you give our buddy Thomas Bryce a follow. It's at Thomas Bryce 2020 on the Instagrams and 2017 on the Twitter, or whatever you call that thing in the jig now. Also, give Sid Facts, AWIPod Sid Facts, a follow on Instagram and on Threads, it's the only place where you can get your Sid Facts. They don't have hashtags on Threads yet, but on Twitter, you can get your hashtag Sid Facts. So give that a follow. I just started that up. It's got 3 posts so far, but we're going to do many more. I saw somebody from the I Like Wrestling podcast. I think her name is Rachel, which is my wife's name too. She was singing Psycho Sid's theme music, and so I said 87 singing Psycho Sid's theme music can increase your quality of your life by 67%. So try singing Psycho Sid's theme song if you're upset today. So check that out.
Yes.
That being said, check out I Don't Know Shit, the Life and Times of Psycho Sid. We're heading toward the 1992 Royal Rumble, which I got to speak to Glenn about what we're going to do about that after this. Make sure you check that out and listen to, I think we're doing AW iPod Worldwide right now. We have an episode of 2000 WCW Nitro that we watched, which was hilarious. Be on looking for a Mayor of Superstars. We haven't done that in a while, so we're going to go back to a Mayor of Superstars this week, and NXT picks, of course. So check all that out. I don't have anything else, right, Glenn?
No, that's about it.
That's it. So all I need Glenn to do is say goodbye.
Goodbye.